Let me paint you a picture. You're walking around your nearest metropolitan hub, and you stop in a local specialty cafe. A terrifyingly hip barista stares you down as you walk up to the bar and asks what you would like. You look up at the pristinely crafted menu. You're perplexed. These drinks sound so foreign. You think to yourself, I've never even heard of some of these. Where are the product descriptions? In an anxious flurry, you come up with something quickly. I'll have a caramel macchiato, you exclaim brightly. It's not on the menu, but that's everywhere, right? However, 5 minutes later, you receive a dainty saucer adorned with the tiniest of ceramic cups, and in your cup, a little white heart framed in rich brown and a caramel drizzle on top. Puzzled, you walk away thinking to yourself, this cannot be what I ordered. But it is. Just experienced your first traditional espresso drink menu. It probably looked something like this, give or take a couple items. Espresso, Macchiato, Cortado, Gibraltar, Cappuccino, and Latte. And you don't see sizes on the menu for one simple reason. When it comes to milk drinks, the name is the size. Yes, traditionally, espresso drink names are simply a reference to size, or more accurately, the amount of milk that's in that drink. It is worth mentioning early on that it's pretty much standard to use a double shot of espresso in any of these drinks, unless otherwise prompted. And in the specialty coffee world, there's only one way of steaming milk, microfoamed to perfection so that your barista can top your beverage with a little bit of art to brighten your day. The true traditional drinks that you should see on every coffee menu are the espresso, macchiato, cappuccino, and latte. And they all have a traditional definition. Espresso is the Italian word for expressed, which refers to the quick nature of a shot of espresso. As I mentioned, most cafes have standardized a double shot, but you'll still sometimes see espresso doppio or double espresso in some cafe menus. I suppose just to let you know that you do have options. Macchiato is the Italian word for marked, which refers to the appearance of this drink. A deep brunette pull of espresso marked with creamy white foam in the middle. With no more than 1 ounce of steamed milk, this drink consists of a 2-to-1 ratio of espresso to milk, and therefore is quite small, typically 3 ounces. The cappuccino has become a somewhat controversial drink. Originally, the cappuccino's claim to fame was simply that it was a really nice balance of frothed milk and espresso. Coming in at 6 ounces in its true form, this drink uses a 1-to-2 ratio of espresso to steamed milk. So you wind up with approximately 2 ounces of espresso and 4 ounces of steamed milk. And if poured properly, you get a perfectly proportioned drink with 1/3 espresso, 1/3 hot milk, and 1/3 foam. At this point, you can start to see where things transformed. Eventually, somebody wanted more coffee, but also wanted to preserve this balance. So they threw out the traditional size and just stuck with the rule of thirds. Nowadays, in some places, you can order a 30-ounce cappuccino, and honestly, this is where things really went off the rails. Because no cafe is going to offer you 10 ounces of espresso just to give you a giant cappuccino. Instead, you get 3, maybe 4 shots of espresso topped with a bit of hot milk and a pile of dry, airy foam. Some people appreciate the texture, and certainly there's nothing wrong with that, but in reality, you're no longer drinking a cappuccino, you're drinking a dry latte. The word dry referring to the texture of the foam, and latte referring to the larger proportion of milk to espresso. Latte is the Italian word for milk, so naturally, this is the drink that contains the most milk. Basically, anything larger than 6 ounces is considered a latte, and you'll see this in many forms. You'll find flavored lattes or mochas, a latte with chocolate added, and you may have recently started seeing the phrase latte macchiato more prominently. The latte macchiato is just a latte with the espresso poured through the top of the milk foam rather than pouring steamed milk into espresso. The espresso leaves a brown mark in the milk foam and creates a layered beverage with hot milk on bottom and espresso floating in the middle just below your foam. This is also the way any of our super automatic espresso machines will prepare a latte. So those are just the standard drinks, but that leaves some gaps in the size spectrum. If you watched our video on milk, you know how milk affects the flavor of coffee, so it seems fair enough to be particular about how much milk is in your cup. These drinks became the popularized gap fillers. Cortado is a Spanish word for cut, so in this context, cut with milk. Simple enough, this drink is made up of equal parts espresso and steamed milk and comes out at 4 ounces. The Gibraltar is simply named for the glass that it's served in, and depending on the cafe, it'll come in either a 4.5 or 5.5 ounce Gibraltar glass. On average, it consists of a 1 to 1.5 ratio of espresso to steamed milk. Espresso and milk, the perfect pair? I think so. Personally, I prefer Cortado. What's your favorite beverage? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. I'm Amber, and I'll see you next week.